Coach Eric Morris. The Mean Green open the season on September 2nd when they host Cal. Coach, we'll take an opening statement before we go to questions.
I appreciate you. My mentor, Mike Leach, always told me, which I have gotten a lot of advice from him over the years on how to run a program, but one of the most important things that the opening statement was so overrated, so be extremely I don't even think he ever gave an opening statement, but we'll be brief. So we're extremely excited and blessed to be joining the American on behalf of North Texas. I mean, to see the vision of our leadership, starting with our chancellor, our president, and our athletic director, Jared Mosley. And you got to see these things in the future, right? College football is evolving. It's ever-changing. And so to see what they've done the past 7 or 8 years and have the, understanding that we needed to build an on-campus stadium that was capable and that these conferences wanted to be a part of, right? And then 3 years ago, we were able to build a state-of-the-art indoor facility. And so they understood a vision, and they knew where we wanted to go as an institution. I mean, this is one of the fastest growing institutions in the nation. I think we're going to have 45,000 students next year enrolled on campus at North Texas. So super excited to lead the charge. Obviously, I think this is a campus that's been known as a commuter campus. And so it's been important for us as a staff to kind of entrench ourselves in the UNT campus and in the community of Denton, and I think our coaches have done such a phenomenal job of that, and not only have our coaches done a phenomenal job of being able to form a sense of community within our walls each and every day and build relationships and earn the trust of our players in this new age of football has been super impressive for me to watch. Obviously, this is a conference that has a lot of history. I mean, seeing Cincinnati go to the Final Four a couple years ago, to watch what Tulane was able to accomplish last year on such a big stage right across the street gives us hope. And I think I inherit a roster that's hungry right now, and super proud of the kids that we have. I mean, just a couple of accomplishments. I mean, we've been, led the charge in community service on our campus. We have thousands of hours that we put in. Our kiddos recorded the highest GPA in North Texas history this spring. Super proud of that. And, to bring two guys, I brought 2 linemen with me. And so starting, I just want to give a shout out to Mason Richards is a guy, and everybody hears the negative pieces to the transfer portal, right? Let me show you a positive piece, and hopefully you'll write on a positive piece. Mason Richard is from Burleson, Texas, right down the road. He didn't get recruited out of high school. He developed at a later age, and he ended up going to Eastern New Mexico and was the defensive player of the year at New Mexico. And he needed a new challenge in his life. He did everything the right way. He had great grades. He's a model citizen. And so he comes to North Texas, and last year he's first team all-conference, 7.5 sacks, 12.5 tackles for loss, and a stud in the community. And so let's write about that. Like, that's a kid that did it the hard way. He came in, he represents this program each and every day the right way. And sometimes that's hard this day and age, right? And sometimes we have to take ourselves back to being, 18 to 22-year-old kids and understanding that we're putting these kids that aren't educated and they're having to make tough decisions. And sometimes they're the wrong decisions. But then another shout out to our right tackle last year, started all 14 games. I see a lot of myself in him. I'm a little bit smaller. So quick story, when I went to media days, Coach Leach took me to media days. I was terrified, right? And so we walk in, I get the podium, whatever, and everybody's sitting out like this. And the first question I get is about my field goal kicking. And I'm like looking at him, and so I'm like, God, did I look that bad and not like an athlete? This guy truly thinks that I'm the field goal kicker, right? And so that gave me a little bit of motivation that I wanted to prove myself. Obviously, Mike Leach called me the elf, and that's something that I've always worn proudly. But Jet's undersized, comes from the Woodlands High School, started 14 games at tackle last year, has just been an incredible leader for us at every level since I've gotten here. So super proud of the way these guys have bought in. This is always a player's game, will always be a player's game. And I think we have a group of young men that have a chip on their shoulder, and they're eager that they want to go out and prove that we belong in this conference. So super humbled and excited to lead these group of young men into the first inaugural season in the American.
All right, we'll open up to questions. If you'd like to ask a question, raise your hand, and we'll get a mic to you. Go first.
Hey, Coach. Mitch Lucas from the Kilgore News Herald. And thefootballbeat.com.
Country Tavern Ribs, right?
Country Tavern Ribs.
God, so my best ribs in Texas,
They're
outside
really
of Kilgore,
good,
Texas, right?
and they are not overrated.
They're not.
My condolences on Coach Leach. I was actually at SEC Media Days last year, and literally his opening statement was, he turned to the commissioner and he said, "Thank you very much," and then he turned to us and said, "Questions." That was his opening statement, but I love Coach Leach.
He was the best.
I'll get right to it. You can only bring a couple players. If you could, up to Media Day, but if you could name a few other people that you expect to make an impact on your season, if you would, and thank you for coming.
Yeah, I think the list can go on, and we have an older roster right now, a bunch of experience, and so, you look at our roster, and it starts with the offensive line. So super excited. We're bringing 4 of the 5 starters back from last year, and so this is a team that I think has been able to really successfully run the ball the past 4 or 5 years, and that starts up front, right? And I think that's a great way to win football games. And then you look right behind them. When I first took the job, everybody's saying, "Hey, you have this stable of running backs. They're amazing," right? And I've been a part of teams that have maybe had 2 good running backs, and I think that's a special team to be a part of. And so I really didn't believe it until I saw it live in action. I mean, we have 4 damn good running backs on our squad. I think all 4 of them have over 1,000 yards in their career. Unselfish. I think our running backs coach, Coach Cobbs, does a phenomenal job of building a room and being able to retain those guys and see the way they work together each and every day has been super special. When you look at our receiver group, we have a bunch of dynamic guys coming back that have had a lot of production. You look at Macklin, Kaylon Horton, Rod Burns. We added Cleveland from Texas Tech this year, and so super excited about the depth that we have coming back at wide receiver. We lost quite a few tight ends. We had 3 really good tight ends, and we lost 3 of them, and so that's been a point of emphasis for us in the offseason to kind of find a guy that can come in and play that position for us. And then, quarterback's the most important piece to the puzzle, right? I know that. I've been blessed to be around some great quarterbacks, coached some of the finest quarterbacks in the world, and so we have 3 guys that are battling out right now, and I made them live during the course of the 2 scrimmages, which I've never done. Made me super anxious, but excited to kind of see how that battle forms throughout the hopefully by the first scrimmage we have that worked out. Moving to the defensive side, I think one of our leaders over there in the back end is Logan Wilson, is a guy that plays safety for us. He's a ball hawk. He's undersized. He's tenacious. He loves to play ball. He's eaten up with it, and so really excited about him. And then Ridge Tejada on the edge, I think is one of the best cover corners that I've ever been around. Comes from a great pedigree. Both of his brothers played in the NFL and the Big 12. And then up front, we have a great front led by, we call him June, who's a great player inside for us. Big Roderick Brown is a guy that's coming back. That's a first-team all-conference guy, and then Mason back there. So linebacker is a place that we're going to need a little bit of help right now. We know that. We've addressed that issue through, recruiting some junior college players in the portal. But yeah, we have a lot of depth coming back and super excited about those guys.
Coach Joe Lecce from Sports Radio 1310 The Ticket. I'm curious, what were some of your assumptions about the North Texas program before you came to North Texas, and what are some things that maybe have surprised you since you came in?
Yeah, so it's one of the things that intrigued me so much of the job is, and most people don't know this, but Coach Seth Luttrell is one of my great friends. He was actually my running backs coach when I was a player in college, and we communicate all the time, been good friends for a long time. So I knew what kind of program Seth ran, and I knew that, he had installed the discipline in it, and that these kids were taught the right way to do a lot of things. And so much respect to see what Seth was able to do the past 8 years and take this program to a new height and take them to the conference championship games and to compete in bowl games. And so that had me really intrigued, knowing that this program was on the right direction. And then as soon as I was able to sit down and talk to Jared Mosley and understand his vision for the program, him being a former athlete, I think carries so much weight. He understands what we go through on a day-to-day basis. He's been able to provide me with all the resources that we need to be successful, right? And that's something, when my first head coaching job at University Incarnate Word, we were fighting to get peanut butter and jelly sandwiches once a week for the kids, right? And so I've been on that end of the spectrum, and so so blessed to be here and have people that are all working towards the same goal together.
Yeah, Coach, the conference commissioner has mentioned throughout the summer and even today that he expects this league to be highly competitive on a national level. What's your level of confidence in the American with the new lineup of teams as you go into this season that this league can be competitive on a national level?
Yeah, I think, it's an interesting time for this conference, right? I mean, we have the 4 teams that are leaving and then the Conference USA teams who are transferring in. So for me, as we're watching film, we have some familiarity with the teams that are coming in with us right now, so we know what to expect. Now, just to watch, kind of what Tulane was able to do, right? I mean, you look at all this across the board as far as the history that Memphis has. I mean, East Carolina, South Florida. I mean, there's some great programs and even better coaching. Like, I've been super impressed with the coaching hires that have been made in this conference, and I think that's just gonna raise the bar each and every week. And so it'll be interesting. I think there's a lot of unknowns, whether there's going to be a lot of parity or if some of these Americans, have better depth than us right now. But I know, we have a group of 110 guys that are anxiously waiting to go find out what happens.
Yeah, and just one last one here. The Texas High School Coaches Association, which I know you have a lot of respect for, mentioned earlier this summer that they are opposed to college teams playing on Friday nights. And, of course, you guys have a Friday night game against SMU and 2 Metroplex teams. What are your thoughts on playing on Friday nights, and do you feel comfortable with doing that this season?
Yeah, I think Friday nights was such an important piece to my upbringing and what my father did for a living. I think in Texas it's a little bit different. And so, we would rather not if we could do that, but I also at the same time, I mean, I understand that, for our TV deals that sometimes there are things that are going to have to happen, right? But I do know, like, the love for shallow water football in my hometown that, hopefully they're sitting at the game at shallow water and they're on their phone streaming our game, right? Because they're not going to miss that shallow water high school football game. And I just know that. So obviously we're so proud to be able to join ourselves with American and to get this national coverage. I mean, this is a dream come true for us as an institution. At the same time, I mean, I don't think you want to take my West Texas roots and what my father did and for a living out of it. So we love our Friday nights for Texas high school, but obviously, it has to be done. It has to be done.
Hey, Coach, Harry Myers, GoMeanGreen.com. You've been some big places and some smaller places. I guess my question is, what has the reception been from the high school players and coaches to North Texas being a part of the American Conference? And what kind of impact have you seen just initially in your short time here with what the American has represented there?
Yeah, it's been interesting to watch the path of North Texas grow over the last 20-something years. You think back 25 years ago, and they're competing in the Southland, and they're independent, and just to see kind of the upward tick that they've been on, right? And I think now that we have the other 3 in-state opponents, I think just really raises the playing field. I mean, it's such an awesome experience for us to recruit against SMU, who's in town, to see the success that Jeff Traylor's had, down in San Antonio has been awesome, and that we're able to drive down I-35 and create these rivalry games, right? I mean, that's what you want in college football. And we always talk about the portal, and we talk about what's broken, like the thought of going down and being in the dome and playing in these meaningful games, like it makes the hair on my back stand up right now, right? To be able to go down and play SMU, have them come to our place, to see what Coach Bloomgren's doing there at Rice and be able to go into Houston, these markets that we love to recruit and be able to showcase kind of what we work so hard for. I think it's really helped us to be able to join the American and helped us boost our recruiting base.
Hey, Coach, Carter Yates with Dave Campbell's Texas Football. I listened to an interview you gave a while back where you talked about the beauty of Mike Leach's air raid was that it was so simple. But then on the flip side, where a lot of guys would leave to go to another school, they would put their own personal tweaks on it because it was so simple. So without giving away any trade secrets, what is your kind of personal tweak on that Mike Leach air raid?
Yeah, I think, as I studied it when I kind of got off on my own, I think that running the football is essential to winning championships. And so, I kind of did a self-study the first year that I went to Incarnate Word, and found out, even though some of these teams, I mean, the LSUs, the Clemsons, that are winning national championship, that have a spread offense and are throwing the ball around. You know, Joe Burrow threw it all over the place where, you know, in the air raid, we were rushing the ball from anywhere to 70 to 80 yards per game, and these guys were more in the realm of about 150 yards a game. So I think it breathes toughness into your program. I think it helps your defense prepare. I think offensively, obviously, you know, the physicality is something that's super important. And you know, I was part of maybe the greatest passing offense of all time in 2008, Graham Harrell, and we have a chance to play Oklahoma, you know, to where we win that game, we're going to the national championship, and we had an off day throwing the ball, and we have nothing to come back to. And so yeah, I think there's a bunch of parts integrated in it, but I think that I believe in running the football, and I think it creates a toughness throughout your program.
Thank you so much for your time, Coach.
Appreciate you guys.